We had, you know, the famous poultry program, what did we call it, where we hatched eggs in incubators. Ed Shano headed that up, and we had a bicycle safety program, and we had, as I say, woodworking, electrical work, things like that, and they'd keep adding to them, and so you'd come up again. And even in the agricultural end, we had like it wasn't all just raising cattle, it was the tractor safety and programs like that. But, I mean, I don't think anybody ever told Ed Shano we need a program on how chickens develop in eggs or something. I think he dreamed that up. And, you know, along with other faculty, because there were, after all, there are faculty who are working with commercial poultrymen who, you know, need information about hatching chickens and diseases of chickens and things like that are ongoing and are economically extremely important. I can't come up with the name of the program that Ed developed, but it consisted of actually getting eggs and building an incubator out of a styrofoam picnic cooler and hatching the eggs. And then, you know, and so the young people would learn basically about the biological process of hatching and so on. And we used that in the city, New York too. We had a huge program. We ran that mostly through the schools. One very interesting little incident that happened when we were teaching this to, it wasn't, I don't think she was a school teacher, I think she was working with a community group, and a woman was trying to understand how she could make this hatching of chickens relate to the young women she was working with. And she was just having trouble making the connection. You know, here's an egg sits out here in an incubator, and what's that got to do with? And I don't know who it was. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was one of the other people that suddenly had the idea to say to this woman, "You lay an egg every month. The chickens may lay an egg a lot more often, and it's an external egg. But that's the same basic process." And you could sort of see the light go on in her head, and she became an amazing teacher to these young women. And she taught them about menstruation and so on, and ovulation, and, you know, and pregnancy and things like that. And she really, and that's one of the kinds of things you can do with that sort of a program. And she made that connection and made it very real. There are a lot of other things that went with that program for young children, like it takes an egg 21 days to hatch. Well, what's 21 days? So you learn calendar skills. Okay. How many eggs hatched out of this dozen? Okay, what percentage is that? You know, things like that. So it had math skills, it had calendar skills, it had a lot of daily things, items that kids should use daily. And it was a vehicle for teaching things. Because when you went to the public schools and they'd say, these kids don't know have to know how to raise chickens. You know, they live in the housing developments. And so we had to explain to them what you could teach through this program, because they were totally intrigued by the program. And even once, I think it was not in New York, but in one of the other, with Westchester County actually, a young boy got in trouble because he broke into the school on a weekend because he was worried that the chickens wouldn't be fed. And things like that. So there was a lot of interesting stories that went with that. And I said that Ed Shano developed that program, and it was terrifically successful. And in New York City, we had huge numbers involved in it. I can't remember what the numbers were, but it was a very good thing.